All right, so welcome back, everybody. This is the panel session series from Climate Farmers, where we go into the topics and the conversations that are most relevant to our community of farmers around Europe. And today I guess we're doing the closest to a timely topic that I've hosted here so far because we're coming out of about 2 months of very heavy weather in this winter season here on the Iberian Peninsula. And though this is happening right now where we are, these patterns have been repeating across Europe for the last couple of decades and becoming worse and becoming more frequent. So we thought we would take the opportunity to get the perspective of three of our community farmers here. And we're going to be talking about what it's like to go through a severe storm or a weather event, what that does to the farm, how, in their experience, they've been recovering from these events, and how they're working to build resilience in the future of increased frequency and increased severity of these types of weather events and how it affects their farm. So just before we get started, just know that you can participate in these conversations. If you're an active farmer anywhere in Europe, you can join the Climate Farmers community for free, where we really promote peer-to-peer learning between farmers who are working towards regenerative transitions for their farms. And we look forward to seeing you on that community and keeping these conversations going after the panels there on the community channels. So to get us started, Alberto, can you give us a little introduction of yourself and your operation, and then we'll come back around and talk about how storms have affected you recently.
Yeah, sure, Alberto. We have a 60-hectare farm in central west of Portugal, near the border of Spain, near Badajoz. Actually, we're about 60 kilometers from Badajoz. Yeah, we do mainly no-till, but we do still do a bit of a shallow till when we need to or when we have to. For example, like our cover crops, we do cover cropping. We still don't have a direct drill for those, or winter crops. We do mainly the no-till in our summer crops, as that's kind of what worries us the most with all the drought and the erosion. So, yeah, I don't know what you want me to kind of like say more. I think that's a short setup.
Sure.
I'll
So those
take
are
a
some
lot.
of the practices that you're working on. Tell me about what you're growing and the different enterprises that you have.
Oh yeah, we try to mix it up a bit more year by year. We do not have any animals at the moment. We do have a few chickens and stuff, very low key yet, but we do try to divide up our grains and our crops in different sections. For example, like we have fava beans for human consumption, we have fava beans for animal consumption. We should be able to pick them at different times, one green, one dry. We combine our own stuff, so we have that in as a positive. What else? We just started microgreening with the microgreens, so we have something stable to take to the farmers market. Yeah, and I think that opened up a whole bunch of doors down the road to take everything else. Market gardening is booming, I hope, with all this hot weather. So that's a different kind of crop we're growing. I mean, yeah, I guess that's pretty much it, especially with with all the diversity in those in each one of those. So I mean, keeps us pretty busy.
Well, for the rest of you, Alberto's being very modest. He's also one of the authorities in the climate farmers community on cover cropping and has helped to guide a lot of other people through that process and get started with that practice. So let's go to Maria as well. Can you tell us about your operation in the south of Spain?
What operation? So I am in South Spain. I have 50 hectare almond trees, and we don't have any water. Here don't rain, never. So it's really complicated. It's really hot in summer, really cold in winter. And we make a supervivencia, agricultura de supervivencia.
Yeah, agriculture of survival.
you know. And in the last year, I was working with green crop between the trees uh, to have more capacity to take the water and to don't have too much, you say, when the water broke up the earth.
Oh, to have little as little erosion as possible.
Yeah, you know. and I was working on that, but was not enough. So I am trying now to find a system to design the water, or where the water is going, to keep the water on the redefinition where it should go after, something like that.
Very nice. And so in the transition to improve your almond production enterprise, what are some of the main things that you are trying to move towards as far as practices or soil health?
So the most was the green crop, then the organic material, no one chemical. I so I don't labrar.
Yeah, you don't till. Yeah.
Yeah, not too much. And so my father was making this farm for 20 years, and that was eco, bio, and I am trying to make more regenerative.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And going now to Pau, can you tell us about your operation in the area of Tarragona?
Yes, well, I'm Pau. I farm here in near Tarragona and 10 kilometers from the sea. It's in a 16-hectare property, and I have a herd of sheep. They are Dorper sheep, if you know about them, and some olive trees that are planted in rows in the boundaries of the farm and along the roads. And I produce lamb and olive oil. And the herd is 100% pasture, and the property is designed in line to improve the water catchment.
And so aside from the key line and the water management, I've seen you publish on the community quite a few different innovative ways of managing your livestock. Can you talk about what it is you're trying to accomplish and the different practices you're trying there?
Well, my goal by now is to start to make some money and and make a living out of it. Last year was a bit better than previous, and what I'm doing is to regenerate the pasture using the livestock as almost the only tool. I didn't see anything, and they live on wild vegetation. I manage them based in holistic management, in holistic plant pasture. So I move them every day or so, and then let the place recover for 6 months.
Yeah, it's necessary, especially as rainfall patterns become more erratic. Pao, you also sent me some images, which I'm going to share my screen, and I would love to hear about your experience with the recent winds, high winds, and heavy rains from the last couple of months. Let me get these up on the screen. You can go ahead and start telling your story here.
Yeah, well, the rains had been about 4 years or so, the heaviest drought in history. And this is the wind. The most common extreme weather events is winds. Is not uncommon to reach speeds of 100 kilometers per hour, and this was in January. So yeah, the trees have been debilitated because of the drought on the root level. Then it rained. We don't have extreme rains, maybe during a few hours at 20 millimeters, but the rain has fallen spread through along the day, but then the winds have been extreme, and we're now in a week or so of peaceful weather, but this year has started catastrophic. We had until a week ago, we barely had 2 or 3 days of just peaceful weather, not extreme events of rain or winds or
it even snowed. That this is not an area, a snowy area, and this year, 4th January, it fell 2 centimeters of snow. And it's been, like I said the other day in the group, like living in a permanent hangover all the week.
Yeah. Tell me about how that's been affecting your livestock, because you made some observations there about the stress that it is causing the sheep.
Yes, they usually are not so stressed by the winds. If it keeps at 70 or so, and it's not more than a few days, they are not stressed. But this time, they have been for some week or so very in something strange. Do you listen to me?
Yeah, we just missed the last thing that you said.
Oh, I don't listen.
Don't worry. So you were saying about getting into lambing season, and you fear that these high winds and the stress that
Oh,
the weather has caused on the sheep might be affecting
I've
miscarriages
lost
and lower birth
the.
rates.
I don't listen.
Can you hear
I
me now?
don't hear you.
All right. Well, look, here, let's pause and come back to you, Pau. Herberto, can you tell us about your experience out there? And feel free to share your screen to show some of the images. And I know you have drone shots too of the really heavy rains from the storms recently.
I do. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, it's just loading. There, we can see it.
Yeah. I know the image is a bit unpixelated, but yeah, that's pretty much the best we can do.
No, that's all right. That's a really good overview.
Yeah, as you can see, that's our main river that crosses our land. And that's what we have to cross to get into town or to their nearest town. And you can see how wide it gets. There, if you notice, even our tilled soil over to the left, our parcel over to the left, that was tilled to plant triticale that we planted. That was I wouldn't say a cover crop mix, but maybe with all these rains, it will probably be considered as a cover crop because it's kind of I don't know. But yeah, that's our triticale. And you can see where it isn't necessarily draining off of the land, but if you look to our neighbor's soil, that's usually very compacted by all the bad management of cattle, you see massive, massive runoff. And then it comes straight through our fields because we're a tiny little farm in between very large farms. So we kind of get the short end of the stick. And yeah, I paused the video right now and you can see that that's what we have to cross. But in a sense, we didn't have much damage as it drained out pretty good. Crops did get a hammer. I mean, they suffered a bit. At this middle field we're at now, that was cover cropped and rolled down during the summer. Well, not during the summer, during the autumn, I believe. Yes, we had our interns over and I rolled this in October. And I did plant some fava beans for animal feed to about halfway of the fields, starting from the right to the left. And they're doing awesome, even though they're taking on water from their own field and from the other fields above it, and they're still doing awesome. Can you, if I show you top field to the right next to our barn, that would be our fava beans for human consumption. That's about 5 hectares of fava beans, and they got pretty much wiped out. Although you can see pretty much that it's flooded. It's kind of like a lake, and that we did till the soil because we had some failed experiments. And I thought, well, we'll plant fava beans in there and we'll leave it, and at least we won't have to till anything else during the winter time when we have heavy rains. And it's still, even though it failed, because, well, compared side by side, I mean, it's a completely different response to tilled field and direct drilling. I mean, that's our resiliency plan, right? Trying to get these bugs out and bad habits that we have that till. Once you're a tiller, usually you're always a tiller. I mean, yeah. So at the end, we have our pond. That's where we start getting our water in, and that's our reserve for the summer months.
Do
And
you
you can
actually
see,
pump irrigation water from that pond?
yeah, yeah. We have about a 15 horsepower pump, and that'll pump water at least half of the farm, depending on where we want it. We use a water wheel, so we can push it to any place that we want to. As you can see, our pond was actually very well built. This was in my father's time, and he built the intake of the water on the highest point of the pond. And then when it fills up, it'll actually overflow where it comes in. And then usually, if it doesn't rain like 100 millimeters in one go, it usually flows very well. So yeah, I mean, water retention, how to build ponds, very, very big point. As this is not the first year that this happens. I remember 2022 wasn't that far along ago, and we got hit by 140 millimeters in a few hours. And yeah, exactly this happened, and especially in this area right here. As you can see, our well wheel right there is also. But yeah, actually trees, you can see a few branches broken, but not much, as our trees are pretty deep rooted, especially in this last 4 or 5 years with no tilling. They've gotten very resilient, more topsoil rather than erosion. I'm happy to announce that where all that water ran through our fields, we're not seeing any erosion at all, even though in those fields that were tilled, especially the ones that have the cover crop on, they're doing awesome. But yeah, as you can see, we get a massive amount of water running through our fields because of our neighbors, the runoff of our neighbors. And this is what we have to deal with. We do get gushes of wind because we're kind of like in a valley. And sometimes it's problematic, especially when we have temporary housing for animals like our chickens. We do have a fenced-in greenhouse frame that we usually use for our chickens in the summer, springtime. And the bad thing about these temporary buildings is that when we get a big gush of wind, and it wasn't a particularly windy day, and it was very funny because all the chickens ducked down because the whole thing got picked up and upside down and landed right next to all the animals on maybe a few meters away. And it's a big frame. I mean, it's 4 meters long by 3.5 meters, and it has a thick frame to it.
Wow, that's
And
no joke.
yeah, and it got picked up like a balloon. And we were only using shading on top so the wind can flap around. And yeah, it just inflated like a balloon, even though it has cuts in it and stuff to let the wind through. And it just flipped it over, and all the chickens were in a perfect square because they were scared shitless of the of what will happen, right? It was a big surprise.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
so yeah, about 30 chickens, about 10 or 15 turkeys, and they're all going, what happened?
That is,
Yeah, but I mean, particularly this year wasn't too bad for us, but it was pretty bad for a few other neighbors. I don't know if you can
yeah.
see.
So one of the main things that you mentioned here is how much water is coming through the system and why it's so laden with sediment because of the practices of the neighbors up further in the watershed. Can
Yeah,
you tell me about, I guess, the reaction from the neighbors? Do they see the impacts of their management in times like these, or is there still a consideration that, oh, this happens once in a while and we just have to deal with it?
yeah, it's definitely that. They'll see it as well, it's a big storm, it's a calamity, right? There's no preparation. It's actually the opposite. We've had our neighbors in 2022, before the big storm. We just taken over the farm in 2019, so we were here 2, 3 years. And our neighbors asked, "Oh, you have all these brushes in the fence line?" So we're gonna send an excavator and get them all out. I said, wait a second, but the brushes are on my side. Oh yeah, we'll just send an excavator. I mean, no, I don't want an excavator on my side. If mine is dirty, as you want to call it, leave it like that. And the amount of the water that ran through that fence line about 2 weeks after we had the call, and I said, no, don't send the excavator, was the 140 meters, and it bent the hell out of the fencing, but all the posts stayed in the same place. Nothing broke through. I mean, the fence was there. Wherever
Because it
they
was
met,
held up by the vegetation that was
yeah,
dirty. Yeah.
the root system, the vegetation, all the brambles in the river, they were all laying flat because, I mean, river got what, 30, 40 meters wide in some places. All the
Wow.
brambles where the actual river is, they all got laid flat, all of that. I mean, but no erosion.
Right.
No erosion. The fence were there, and all the other places that they messed with their own fences because there was different plots of that they were redoing or whatever, all got wiped out. I mean, they had, I mean, thousands of euros in the fences because they're permanent fences, and they're all got flushed away.
That's
That,
wild. That's a really cool example, though, of the differences in perception and actual performance in management when these calamities hit, right? So
yeah.
I want to go quickly to Maria. Can you tell us about your experience? Because you were saying to me earlier that these recent storms really didn't impact you very heavily this season. But your experience with heavy storms was during the Dana, which made international headlines last year. Can you tell
Yeah.
me about that experience? And feel free to share your screen to show pictures as well.
Okay, I will show you. So I think that does work like that. Can you see that?
Yep, we can see them.
Okay. The big problem in Dana was that normally in 1 year here rained 150 liter metro quadrado, square meter.
Yep.
That was in 3 hours was more than 200 liter in some areas around circa 300 liter. So that meant more that was rain in 1 year was raining in only 3 hours or something like that. So it
Yeah,
was
that's
a really
super
big
intense.
that was really catastrophic. And that was also in October. Right? Yeah. And I was just planting the green crop, green.
You got
And
it.
the problem was that the seed was not, the plant was not to it completely. So when the water was coming, here we can see here, that is around 75 centimeter deep. So here is the roca madre.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I was lost.
Bedrock, all the way down to the bedrock.
Yeah, I was lost in all the air. You can see here the roof of the almond trees. In some areas, I lost complete the trees. So that's what you see here under that mountain of things, almond trees. And the was funny, or we can say, I try always to see the positive points, no? So here was flower for the cemetery,
Oh, wow.
plastic flower for the cemetery that is around 10 kilometers back from this area. So
Wow.
it was really, so that is einfach horrible.
Yeah, that's very severe erosion in the orchard there.
That's unbelievable. And I think
Basically
I left.
opened up a whole river channel right in the middle there.
So I don't know if you can see here. So around all the area, all the finca, there are, how you say that, green lines to retain the water. But it was not enough. So it was broke everywhere. So this year what I was doing is making bigger and bigger, bigger to try that as, but I am sure that this is going to happen again.
Sure.
And that's a big problem because you don't lose only the air. So that here is circa 1 meter deep, so I
Yeah.
can go inside. You see here is a little bit free, but the problem is don't rain the rest of the year. So this green crop for me is really difficult because I was planting seed, but not everything come. So here,
Yeah.
completely back. And yeah, I'm completely back. Here, can you see that something is growing up? But
Yeah. Where the erosion wasn't very severe, you got germination of your cover crop. But
yeah,
where the water was rushing too fast, it wiped everything away before it could get established.
yeah, that was the problem. And I was spending a lot of money on that, and I was really, really angry. And that is the problem as well. So at the end was also trees that was under the earth. So that was circa 1 meter or something. And then you have to take out because they cannot still alive.
Right. So they got buried in the sediment that was washed into that area.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
So
this is
I
really
have,
severe. And this, I mean, one thing is putting in those barriers, those green barriers to hold back some of the water and the erosion. And another is putting in cover crops to try and stabilize the soil and improve the soil. But 150 liters in 3 hours is way more than even those natural functions can handle.
yeah.
What have you been thinking about to try and build resilience on your farm, knowing that this can happen again?
So my idea is so the water have always the same place to go. So that's the good things. They are not going to go to other way. So to make, how you
Yeah,
say,
different erosion control barriers. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. But
check
I
dams
don't,
and such. Yeah,
yeah, and I don't know what more I can do really. So I am just checking, cooking lines. I want to make also, ¿cómo se dice? Líneas de,
key lines.
no,
Oh,
I have
zanjas de infiltración, like infiltration
sí,
lines.
sí,
Yeah,
yeah,
maybe.
infiltration
Yeah,
lines.
terrace lines.
I cannot do sky lines because this plantation is around in some area 70 years old or 50 years old. So that's for my grandpa, my father. And
Right.
I don't want to take out all the trees. They are alive and they've still been there. So, and it's really compact and really difficult to make this line at the moment.
Sure, there's already an established planting pattern
Yeah,
that you can't go back and do excavation in on keyline because the trees are already there.
yeah,
I see this a lot in other orchards that we work with as well. It's like the pattern's already there. It really limits what you're able to do.
yeah. Yeah. So my father don't limit me anything, but I don't want to take out the trees and everything. So
Sure.
I am really sentimental.
Sure.
And yeah, so I'm trying to make a system to regulate the water, also to try to reduce the water after in summer because from May until October, it's really probably that don't rain anything. So
Sure.
nothing.
It's really important to understand that when maybe 2 or more years of rainfall happens in such a short period of time, it's not like the earth receives that water. It just hits the surface and runs off and usually causes much more damage than if it hadn't rained at all. And then maybe you don't get any more water again until the next season, and none of it has actually infiltrated into the soil. And so
That's
just looking at overall quantities of rainfall in a year is not at all indicative of the hydrating effect that it's had on the land.
yeah. So so for me was really so, and I have to take. So now I am planting 2 hectare almonds because I had to take out because it was under the earth. And for me it was really dramatic to think how much water is coming through, and I cannot keep it, and I cannot do nothing. Only see how it's going up on taking everything out and making everything kaput. I just yeah, that's German, but you understand, no?
I
Yeah.
do, yes. Yeah, that is a major challenge. I think, well, we can go into different options and resilience planning later, but I want to quickly go back to Pau now. Pau, can you talk about the part that we missed out last time because of your connection? You were talking about the stress that it causes the animals, especially as you're getting into lambing season right now.
Yeah, the lambing season is currently occurring, and usually the sheep don't accuse so much stress by the winds, but with this month and a half that's been very violent weather. They ended up very stressed, and well, I lost in the 26th of December. I found 2 ewes dead because of the cold rain. It was almost snow, this thick water, and then now during the wind episode, some ewes have born dead lambs or stillbirths, and they were very agitated. Maybe it's not that they lost the lamb because of directly for the stress, but being the herd agitated, they fight each other, they hit, and maybe some beat in the belly and kills the lambs.
Right.
Now they have been born 7 by now, and they are all okay.
I'm glad to hear that.
But yeah, I had three born deaths.
That's really tough. Yeah, like you're saying, it's not always directly the effect of the weather, but you really have an eye for animal behavior and seeing the symptoms of these different points of stress. Okay, maybe it isn't the wind itself or the rain itself, but this can cause changes in behavior that then affect the animals and their
Exactly.
birthing rates. Yeah. So tell me as
Yes.
well about how your neighbors around you are dealing with these same things. Have you seen a shift in mindset towards resilience, or much like
Well,
Herberto's case, where they're
just
just like, this is what you have to deal with now?
in these last 2 or 3 years, the properties around me that which I received water from have been sold, and there's people managing the ground cover. So there's not been in previous years, in previous storms, I had some erosion because of water that flows into the property from the neighbors, and now this wasn't a problem. So no, I haven't had problems with this.
That's fortunate. Do you engage in a lot of conversations with your neighbors about different ways to work on resilience against these storms, against these difficult weather
Mm,
patterns?
No, not with the conventional and professional farmers. I prefer to let them talk and just hear, because is useless. So no big deal. With friends more in the organic scene or permacultural stuff, we talk around, and there's some so-called experts here, and you see how the properties behave and how my property behave, and there's a they are not so an expert as they call, but yes, it is a current topic. This is novelty. So much rain. We are out from 3 years with almost no rain.
Yeah. Do you feel like your land is receiving the rain better because of the preparations and the grazing that
Yes,
you've had?
absolutely. The key line was quite self-evident at the first time, because it was in between two danas in 2020, when the COVID. There were two danas, and we set the key line in the mid of both. So the first one eroded, and there's a lot of runoff, and the second one, it absorbed quite well, and didn't cause so much problems. And then during the drought of the first rains a year ago or so, they created some erosion because of all the dusty surface. But now this year, it's been a total blessing. The land, it absorbed everything. Some runoff in the most extreme peaks, but clean runoff on the fields, just runoff on the roads. So it soaked in very, very well. We face a good spring this year.
Wow, it's fantastic. I'm really glad to hear that. In the communities that you're participating and talking in, have you seen new ideas or practices that you might try and implement in order to overcome some of these heavier storms in the future?
Not now, not by now.
No, you're staying the course. You're sticking with the things
Yes,
that you've been doing and have worked.
yes, yes. More or less with the people, with serious people that I talk about, that are you in climate farmers and people in Alejap or in Agricultura Regenerativa. More or less, we are all in the state of the art of the
Sure.
of this thing.
Sure. All right, so coming back to Alberto, can you talk about the same thing? Give me an idea about the ideas for adaptation and resilience that you're looking to add on to your existing practices, knowing that these things are going to become more severe and frequent moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. We're trying to get 100% of our soils covered all the time. So no-till 100%. We'll just have to try and fix compaction through deep soil ripping without moving any kind of the soil profile. And that's our main goal. All as much of the soil as no-tilling as possible. And we can talk about so many other things. Like we were talking in the chat, contour walls or any kind of soil movement to hold on to water or something. We can't forget that we're doing stuff at scale and putting stuff in the middle of the field like ponds to hold on to more water and stuff like that. It's just a big nuisance when you have, I mean, I don't have a big tractor. I only have a 100 horsepower tractor, but I mean, you got guys out there doing 200, 300, 400 horsepower tractors and they can't be zigzagging all around the field. And we can still do major good doing no-tilling, cover cropping, and all these other practices that we do. And we can kind of simplify a few things and not get too worried when we know approximately when we're going to get these rains, especially in, I mean, in our peninsula, I mean, we can get rains anytime, we can get droughts anytime. I mean, any normal year is not normal anyplace else. It'll zigzag all over the place. But having stuff written down, I mean, since we started our regenerative practices, we start writing down how much water we've been getting every month. I mean, counting when all the data, as we can to kind of get a sense of what's to come and what's been, and getting that prepared. I mean, temporary housing for animals, trying to get at least the base camp that's permanent and won't blow away is excellent. There's nothing worse than having a major windstorm and you have dead chickens all over your farm or dead sheep or something like that. Nothing can prepare you for what my neighbors got this year was weeks and weeks of rain. And it wasn't the cold or the wind that killed the animals, was the sogginess. So they're always wet. The energy drains out of them. So a newborn calf or a newborn lamb, it's soggy, and as much as you want to give it prime feed or even store-bought feed, high protein, high energy, they'll still die because it's draining the energy out of them. It's not like being out in the blizzard they can snuggle in the snow and keep minimum warm, but in the wet it's hard. It's not, we don't have to shovel snow, or at least in my area we don't, but we do have mud. I don't know what's worse. So yeah, to me, in my context, surely no-till, 100% no-till. Get a bit more diversity in the trees, especially near the river. We would want to kind of hold the water back as much as possible, maybe put another pond or two. But I mean, you saw the river, you saw the images. I mean, we're not holding all that back. That's surely impossible. We just want to slow it down and like make it possible that we can save as much as we can. But I mean, hell, if we're getting into 5-6% organic matter, we're holding plenty of water in our fields. And I mean, we just have to take the most of it. But everything, we just have to take the most of everything as possible, all our practices, and kind of so there isn't a catastrophe when these bad years come along. and that's
I'm
the
really
important.
glad that you mentioned too the practices and the practicalities of keeping water in the soil on these broadacre operations. Because as someone who also works in installation and design of ponds and terraces, I know that they just don't work in all contexts. And when the planting pattern is already established, much like what Maria was talking about, imposing contour lines or key lines on top of this or a big pond in the middle of an arable field would completely throw off the operation. And it is important in those moments to remember that your soil is actually your biggest water holding capacity. And if you're upturning it and screwing up the mobility of the machinery in order to hold a couple thousand liters, you are potentially even missing an opportunity to hold more by improving the structure and the organic matter of that field. It's easy to think, oh, put in these features, they'll hold water, but they don't necessarily evenly distribute the water along the field afterwards. You might have a point of concentration in a pond, but unless you have a pump system like you do, that might not get to where it's needed, even in a hot and dry season for the cultivation reasons, even though you are holding onto that water. So I'm really glad that you mentioned that. Now, Maria, let's go back to you and talk about some of the ideas, given the very extreme circumstances that you find yourself in. I mean, simple water retention features are not going to hold up to a 300 liter rain in such a small event. What are you thinking about in terms of damage control and adaptation for what you know is bound to happen again at some point?
So what we was asking all the time about the neighbor, no? My neighbor are really, so they are really old people. No one remembers something like that. Also, so, but they are sure also that it's going to come back. And they are also sure that they cannot do anything. But I am not sure. So I think that I can do something to control the damage. Maybe I cannot cap all the water, but that's impossible. So that's too much. But I can do that there are not too much damage next time. And that's why I try to make a design with an expert that I know that what I do and what so these trees must to go back. So these trees are going to go back because here come an ally or something like that. But what I have done, my angst, miedo, is to do something that after I cannot repair, no? So
Sure. The fear that investing in something that is that permanent or that breaks is then either too expensive or impractical to work on
yeah,
again. Yeah.
yeah, this is the problem. But I think that we can do so. Now I make a holistic course with Alejap as well, and I have two pastores
Yeah. Grazers.
around me, and then I am speaking with them how I want that they go inside of my finca and how they have to eat when something comes, because at the moment doesn't work, yeah, but and they work around and then they eat and also fertilize the earth and make not so compact when you work with machine. I want to make also,
Yeah, yeah. A syntropic food forest.
thank you for the translation,
I'm here for you.
as as lines to retain the water that don't go so quickly and don't break out everything and make a resistant line. So that's my plan at the moment. My ideas like that.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting. You have, I guess, limited selection of what you can get established there. But as you go through an accumulation phase of vegetation, hopefully you start to get conditions in which more food producing crops can grow as the diversity starts to get established, right?
I don't have any idea. I dream a lot, and I think that I am going to have a big, ¿cómo se dice? Bosque.
You're going to have a big jungle. You're going to have
Yeah,
a big forest.
in the middle of South Spain, with all, it's every dry, but this is my dream.
Well, I admire you for trying because even if for some reason you don't get to your jungle, I'm sure you'll get to something really beautiful and lush compared to what other people have.
This is also my dream. So it's not only so I live for what I produce, but there are a lot of different forms to produce things.
It's
And
true.
what the people is doing here is, for me, it's crazy. It's like you are killing yourself at the same time.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's my purpose. I
Yeah,
speak
well,
too much, but I don't know if I answer your question.
no,
Sorry.
no, that was fantastic. You did really great. Yeah. So I'm gonna maybe go for a quick round of one more question for each of you, and then we'll go to our listener questions.
Okay.
If you could, let's say, change or influence the management practices in your area, what would be the most important thing that you would like to see changed? You can start with that, Maria. Yeah.
Only one thing I
Only
want to
one
change.
thing. Otherwise,
I
we're
want
gonna
to
run out
change.
of time.
I want to change a lot of things. So that's my. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. I am. So Paul said that I don't speak with the traditional professional agriculture because they don't
Yeah.
listen. But I'm always there because I think that's also our work. Yeah. And that they don't. ¿Cómo se dice labrar? I forgot as well.
To till, to
Labrar,
cultivate. Yeah.
so that they don't too much, that
Hmm.
they leave a green crop, that they don't use too much chemical fertilizant, that they don't use so connect, that they use also my bean to pollinate, that yeah, something more.
Yeah. Well, so you're really working on the relationships and the mindset of your neighbors, aren't you?
Yeah, of course. So I create also an association,
Yep.
social cultural agraria,
Hmm.
and now I want to start to make course for natural fertilizant. I want to invite also the allergy people to make
Hmm.
for the chips people here
Hmm.
holistic work, that they listen this work and they go holistic, what's that? So that they, yeah, so that's my
Fantastic.
area.
And Pao, same question to you. If you could affect some change in your area, what would you most like to work on or see change?
Sheep. We need a lot more sheep than mine. They represent the animals in general, but sheep is the livestock and goats in more rocky areas and or mountainous areas are the livestock of reference here in the most of the Iberian Peninsula. They're the choice to go, and they are a game changer. Just I visit some properties here of friends and so, and as I said, they recover after 5, 6, 7, even 10 years of managing and even manuring and so, and there's a level of development, but there's a roof. When you introduce animal and start to manage them, and then the dung beetles come in and start to dig their holes. This is a game changer, a diametral 180 degrees
Yeah, I totally
around.
agree. I think in general, most of our agricultural land is really lacking proper animal presence and impact. And it can't be replaced by any machinery or any synthetic product. The relationship of animals to the land is essential for proper ecological function.
Yeah, you can go to a point, but then
Yeah. Well, and all of those points are expensive and consumptive, right? Either it's diesel fuel
yeah,
for the
exactly,
tractor or it's some outside input that's trying to do the work that only animals can do that well. And you
exactly.
can actually make money from the animals too.
Exactly. With the animals is the way that you make a profit out of the regeneration process,
Yeah.
because they regenerate as a byproduct. You will carry of the animals and you take care of them, of their health. You move them around, and as a byproduct, you create soil.
Yeah.
And with only crops, you work on the crop and then on the regeneration.
And there's so many fantastic examples of very quick turnarounds, especially in arid or semi-arid areas, that much faster than getting vegetation established, even if there's not a whole lot of forage for the animals in these areas because vegetation is struggling to get established. Just their presence there, and you can use techniques like bale grazing and importing feed in certain ways in order to start to get the cover on the ground and the impact of the manure and the urine to as a biostimulant to get the vegetation established that can then be grazed in the next pass.
Yeah, you can do it almost on bare rock or on gravels and
Yeah.
stones, and in a few years there will be some soil, some green.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. And Roberto, same question to you. Take us home here. If you could change anything in your area, what would you work on?
Yeah, I mean, at least if I could get the conventional farmers to listen to anything, and we do have some prime examples around here that did convert over to regenerative and are doing mob grazing and stuff, and it just doesn't listen. They just don't listen. I mean, they see the effects, they see what happens, and they see the difference. But yeah, it all comes to, well, it was a bad year, it rained too much, or it didn't rain enough. I mean, yeah, if I could change something, it would be a bit more dialogue between farmers. And there's a big no-no where we want to share information or you want to share this and or share the experiences and stuff. But it all gets like, oh, you're trying to sell me some rotten fish or something like that. I would appreciate it if someone wanted to sell me some rotten fish so I could put it up in my soils, but that's not besides the point, right? Yeah, and there's not a big social communication between these different practices. And it's all a big game of if you're not with me or against me. And I mean, if you want to change big deals, you have to change minds. You just have to change the mindset. I mean, you have really good prime examples. We're a prime example, let's say, and not being so modest now. We have other farmers that are doing amazing thing with the grazing, mob grazing, not tilling. I mean, they went from 0 to 100. I mean, in a few years, even with these droughts and then big grain storms, and you can see the difference. But I mean, it's just amazing how it just flies by.
Hmm.
And it's easier to blame something else than to blame something or someone of bad luck. And I mean, if I would change something, it would be that get a bit better communication in the community. And
Man, it almost sounds like there should be some sort of organization that facilitates communication between farmers across Europe. That would be
yeah,
super useful.
exactly. I think someone should invent something like that. Yeah.
All right. I'll make some calls, see what I can find out. Well,
But
look, that's a
with simultan translation at the same time, that would be perfect.
you're doing too good. There's no way you need to be translated. Yeah, we need to start doing these in Spanish as well. It's just a matter of time. I barely have enough time to do all this stuff in English. That's a really good point for us to open it up to listener questions. So, for those of you out there who would like to ask direct questions to our panelists today, go ahead and raise your hand digitally, is who I'm going to prioritize there. There's a reactions button at the bottom with a little heart icon. And if you click that, you can raise your hand. I'll call on you there. If you would prefer to ask your question in the chat, feel free to do so and I'll read those off. But go ahead and take it away if you've got your own questions. There's always this awkward pause when I open it up for questions, and then I have to say something goofy. So if it takes more than 30 seconds, you're just going to get more of my ideas. And you guys can ask questions too. Maria, if you've got a question, by all means, go for it.
No, I just want to say that Alberto said something that is really important, and it's the communication. And it's not only the problem is not only the old traditional agriculture or people. The problem is the new generation that is coming, 20 years old, 25, 25, so something like that. That they want only production for make money, but they don't think about the responsibility that they have in their hand working with head, and that's butler. But at least the old people, that will clean really bad, but it's going to die in a few. But this with 20 years old, they are the big problem for me. Speaking, we need to speak more between agriculture and with the other one. It's really nice to meet between us and speak about the things, but we need to make that they see that a change is really necessary.
Yeah. Can you guys relate to that too? Do you have younger farmers coming in and around that are really production or profit minded? I haven't heard of that as much.
Not here. Here around, most young people that are interested in farming come from the organic side and so. But in this is not an area of heavy agriculture. There is more anecdotal. We live out of the tourism really here in the coast. So, and then there's a lot. The problem comes from big enterprise, big funds that buy land and start to grow, especially here, a lot of vegetables for exports until they exhaust the land and then come to go to another place.
Okay,
And
so that I
there will
have
be and there will be an increasing problem of here. I received not an offer in numbers, but people interested. Hey, I want to buy your farm. I'm looking for a property with water. I represent Dutch enterprise that is working in Murcia. And well, Murcia is exhausted and they killed the Mar Menor and they are going somewhere else to still go do the same thing.
Yeah, this example I've definitely seen. I've been down to like La Junquera in Murcia, exactly seeing those lechugueros, the people who grow very delicate salad greens basically in the desert by exhausting the aquifers and the rivers of those areas. As soon as those water resources are gone, then they move on to another area and just repeat the cycle.
Exactly.
Alberto, I know they do that with almonds in your area as well, don't they?
More down south near Beja at
Okay.
the Alqueva. There's big almond and olive groves. Yeah, and they're hammering the soil as much as possible because they have the water. But the salinity of the Alqueva is increasing year by year. So yeah, it's getting to the point where once they exhaust it, they'll just move out and just leave.
Leave the community in shambles.
Yeah. Thankfully, you got some nice projects over there like Terra May, 500 and some odd hectares. I mean, but it's a drop in the bucket, right? Although they're doing amazing things, but it's a drop in the bucket. Wow, it's incredible the profit that they make out of the almonds and how much they're paying for the land. So everybody wants to sell to them for sure. I mean, we're talking about 80, 90, 100,000 per hectare to sell the land or more. And I mean, it's we sell, right? It's major profit. And then they exhaust it and maybe they took the profit away and that's it. And they'll just leave shale.
Yeah. I mean, these types of operations are much more similar to mining than they
Yeah.
are agriculture.
It is extracting. It is extracting. Luckily, in my immediate area, we're all family farms or family-owned farms, or most of them are. So all the new people coming in are in small plots of land, and they're very permaculture, regenerative, or organic, or all the above. And the rest, well, we just have to move along bit by bit. We have good examples of older farmers that come down through the generations that are changing over and doing mob grazing, doing electric fencing, moving them every day and stuff. And then you have the other ones that are moving gradually towards these new methods, new, if you want to call it that. They know the benefits of a smaller fields, more heads, more moving, less time in the field, but they don't go full circle with everything. And then they don't see the benefits as 100%, and it just don't go 100% in.
Mm.
But luckily, being family-owned farms, they usually don't try to get rid of them, so we're kind of in protected areas to a certain point.
Are any of you seeing trends in your areas that give you hope, that make you think that things might start taking more of a positive turn? Maria looking very optimistic there. Just a straight no. I mean, in Granada and in that arid region, let's be honest, in the near term, you're really looking at more of these extreme rain events and longer, drier, hotter periods. And that's really tough for agriculture. Is it just a sense of these communities are on their last leg, agriculture is dying off, you don't see much of hope for that situation yourself?
So the good things and the bad things that we have here is that we don't have water. That's meat. Don't come too much people from Murcia to plant
Yeah.
and drink all the water, so there are no one. That's good. Bad things is, for here don't rain too much. Everyone needs a lot of air, a lot of play to can produce what one with water produce in 1 hectare.
Right.
So that is all. Everything is latifundis. So when one makes something not so good, making a really big area.
Sure.
And on the other big problem that we have is that we don't have this business that want to plant everything. We have the solar plug
Okay.
y molinos de viento, and they are taking every day a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And the people here is really tired to work, so what they do is give the land for a few money and forget it. So they think, okay, I can be in peace and don't take any more
Sure.
about that.
They're getting out of their agricultural enterprises and selling to solar fields and wind farms.
Yeah, that's not so bad, but also not so good. So here is area protegida. We have buitres, águilas, a lot of birds.
A lot of
Now
wildlife.
they
Yeah.
make this they are really wind rat with all the electrical cable and everything. I'm fucking shit. Can I say that? Guys, green energy, but I don't know for who, because I pay every month a lot of money for the electrical. So that's
Of course, it's being sent somewhere else. The local community doesn't benefit from it anyway.
yeah. But I think what you say, so 100 year maybe, 200 year, here will be nothing. There will be a desert. I'm sure about that when we don't change now something, but this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
difficult.
No, these are important times, and it's so necessary to have people like you who have the tenacity and the optimism, at least for what you can do, or hard-headed. That's also true. Yeah. But we need more people like that, or else, like you said, this isn't going to change. The trajectory that it's on is going to be, it's going to require a lot of coordination and a lot of hard work. And without the people to do that, it's not going to do it on its own. Pao, what about yourself? Have you seen trends in your area that give you hope that things might get a little better?
We are facing the same menace of the sustainable energies. We're fighting now a set of fire generators of windmills here that would be taller than Sagrada Familia, 180-meter high windmills.
Yeah.
And my farm would be surrounded by them. So and they expropriate a piece of my property to make the road and the electric line. We have hope that we will stop it, because the bureaucrats, even they said that that this is too much because there's a lot of people living around and so. But it's here. It is expanding, and in Spain we're living the transition in energy to the same that created the problem. the big energetic corporations in Spain are the ones who really rule the country, and they are betting for these big centralized instead of smaller facilities, and to put them in high quality agricultural land instead of in around roads or in other degraded spaces. So this will be the battle of next years here, and then these other, what I said before, the hedge funds buying land. So I have not a lot of hope, really.
No, it's understandable. And this is something we haven't talked about on the panel series before, but is really relevant to the conversation about what any farmer or land manager is up against, right? Because it's not a matter of just staying competitive and making a living wage off of what you can do on your farm or your forest or whatever it is. You are basically racing against massive corporations with tons more money that see the land as a commodity for investment for either industry or these basically mining operations masking themselves as agriculture, like the lechugueros we talked about, like the almond cultivation. And you can't compete with a business model like that with something sustainable. Something sustainable requires investing in the fertility of the land in the long term and an intact cycle in the ecology. And you're up against a corporation that just says, we're just going to extract every last drop of water, every last bit of fertility out of this place. And we have an exit strategy in 10 years when we know this place collapses. Yeah, of course they're going to outcompete you. They're going to be able to pay more for the land. And those people who are struggling to get by, of course, it's an attractive exit strategy to sell to them, even if it means there's going to be nothing left in the landscape or the community by the time they leave. And I think it's really necessary for us as a culture to talk about what the real value of land is, knowing that we can't just restore it after it's been degraded to such an extent and these massive corporations get away with their millions and then there's nothing left in the community. That's really sad.
Yeah, we need to cut some heads and start to burn some things.
I'm really glad
Because
that this panel session is becoming a
I like more
platform for
bombs.
radicalism.
Bombs are better.
the inequity is too much. Is like a Don Quixote, you know? You are nothing and against all the state of Israel or all the state of United States almost, you know? Is so, or Elon Musk. This guy owns half of the earth for himself. This is the real problem. We are sustaining ultra rich people way along among of our possibilities. These are the problem.
Yeah, it's not a level playing field by any means. So yeah, so when we're talking about dealing with calamities and big storms, turns out there might be some bigger issues we need to address as well. One thing is heavy winds and another is heavy industry. Julia, you've got a question. Go ahead.
Yes. I won't turn on the video since my internet connection is really unstable. But I had a question to Maria, because I'm still thinking of the pictures you showed of the very heavy erosion. And I'm wondering how your trees are dealing now, how they are doing now, if you can see very heavy effects on them, and how you reacted to the erosion directly afterwards. Like, did you move back the soil, or yeah, how did you work the land then?
Well, so I didn't move any soil. I didn't do anything with the erosion, because my idea was, okay, the water is going to come back again and it's going to come back for this place. So until that I have a plan what I want to do, that I know that this work, I know go to, it's like
a scar.
A scar.
it's
Yeah.
like a scar over my ass, and I didn't take care of her because I need to see it to know really what I have to do. So I didn't do anything. Only I was taking out the trees that was too small that they was not going to survive. So that was 2 hectares. I was taking all out. I was working the earth because was a lot of place was the and 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 I didn't do anything. Only plant almonds now, and that's all. But the erosion is still in there until that I have the answer.
Does that answer your question, Julian?
Yes, thanks. And yeah, I guess your trees are still quite damaged, or do you see?
The trees that was falling down and that was not going to survive, I was taking out. But the rest is still in there, so there was.
Okay, thanks for answering.
Another thing to think about too with such heavy erosion like that, it's definitely not practical to try and replace that soil. That would be a massive expense. And just like Maria said, the water is going to come back through those places again. And sometimes making an adaptation for the natural flow of water is much more practical and affordable than trying to force a plantation onto an area that is inevitably going to erode anyway. And stream dynamics over time, especially as they create these channels in the landscape, will start to spread out naturally and find what you can refer to as meanders as it starts to run curves and find its path down the landscape. Sometimes you can just accept and work with this and change your planting pattern rather than trying to do an intervention and stop or prevent this from happening again. When it's at the scale and the severity, like we've seen in Maria's property, this would probably be something that I would recommend, because any other interventions, unless you're willing to go and spend time out there and move rocks by hand very frequently, it's probably going to either be too expensive or temporary, right? So some adaptation is going to be necessary. And I think you're thinking the right way there, Maria.
Yeah, I think the same. Try to make something that the water don't go too quickly. Try to do something that they have more movement. Try to make something where you capture all this water, not all this water, but some of the water, and you can reuse that. But the problem is here don't rain never. So really few. This is really amazing. But when rain a lot, so what you should build for this condition a really big pond, a really small. So the dimension also is complicated, I think. No?
Indeed.
Fund as well.
And I would also say where you are in the water catchment is makes things a little more complicated too, right? Seeing the volume that comes down there, it's clearly not just coming off of your 50 hectares. It's coming from much further upstream.
Yeah,
And
it's
if your
coming
neighbors,
for the
yeah,
mountains on through 3 neighbors. So what the water that come to me is all the water for I don't know.
yeah, I haven't done the mapping of your catchment, but it's definitely many multiple hectares of catchment that is not part of her property. And if you're not able to do smaller interventions higher up in the landscape, it's either impossible or very expensive and much more of an engineering challenge to work that low on the catchment and try and intercept the water at that point. Which is why in all of the work that we do, we talk about how you can coordinate with the larger community, because quite frankly, watershed management is not the responsibility of any one property owner. I don't know any property owner in Europe that owns an entire water catchment. Even if you own, 100,000 hectares, many times your catchment is even larger than that. And so, I mean, in some places there are good examples of this, right? There are organizations in Valencia and other places that are very ancient and have helped to manage mostly irrigation networks, but there are some evidence of watershed level governance in the past in other places. And I personally would really like to see either associations or kind of cooperations formed with land managers at a watershed scale because it's way too much for any one property owner to take on and try and do by themselves. Well, look, we're getting to the end of our time here, but I really want to thank Pau, Herberto, and Maria for taking the time to share their stories and their adaptation strategies. I know I learned a lot from your guys' experience, and it's been really interesting to follow these conversations in the community. So again, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your stories. If anybody else wants to participate further in these conversations, not only do we post about these things online, but of course, the best place to do that is to join the community and join the conversations with farmers who are at various levels of their transitions all around Europe. Each of the three people who are speaking here have been a wealth of knowledge and experience in helping others to navigate the challenges that you're doing. And I know that these conversations are enriched as we have more voices and more perspectives in them. So we'll look forward to seeing you again on the next panel in about a month. And thank you so much for taking your time this evening to join us. We'll see you again on the next one. Have a good evening, everyone.
Bye.